SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
State Treasurer David McRae is returning record amounts of money to Mississippians, whether it's through the College and Career Savings Program or the hundreds of millions in unclaimed money awaiting your claim. Treasurer David McRae says get your applications and claims in today. Treasury.ms.gov.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5.
You want to talk about the royal treatment? I mean, my man Lance this morning pull into the parking lot at the mothership this morning. Going to be here tomorrow morning as well. And he gets out and he's like, "I told you I had breakfast for you." What? I thought you were genuine, but I wasn't 100% sure. I had a cup of coffee in my hand and brought me a biscuit. Brought me not one, but two cronuts.
I actually went to good trouble to get those. It was a preservation. I had to study the owner for a moment and ask, because I had to go yesterday because they aren't open early enough. Hustled over there after work, grabbed my cronuts before they were sold out, and talked to the owner. I said, "Hey, I can't eat these today. I'm gonna take one to somebody, but I have to serve 2 of these tomorrow. What's the best way? Like refrigerate and a little, maybe 5 or 10 seconds in the microwave." So she gave me the lowdown. She goes, "Yes, that's, we serve ours fresh every day."
Right.
But I'm like, "Yeah, okay, but I can't get here at 6. Mm-hmm. So she goes, "Yes, and you can do
8 seconds is the magic number for donuts in the microwave."
Good deal. Well, I did. I put them straight in the fridge, just like she instructed, and went from there. So, yeah, man, I had royal treatment. If I'd had red carpet, I would have definitely it might be a bit much. Yeah, very kind of you, though, and Tindell coming in,
I'm appreciative.
That would have been appropriate with Sean and you both here, because I never see anybody. It's red carpet day for me.
Yeah, we'll have to make sure the commissioner's got a cronut when he gets in.
Definitely.
Coming up this morning. Glad to be with you, and glad to be here. We got a lot going on over the next couple of days. I was in Rankin County last night. We'll talk a little bit about that was my first Lincoln, Reagan, Trump dinner gala. And that's what they had in Rankin County last night, put on by the Rankin County Executive Committee. If I understand it correctly, it's the first time in about a decade they have done that and decided they needed to have a gala. There was a wonderful turnout, huge, completely sold out. It was in the ballroom at the Sheraton Flowood Conference Center there, and boy, what an asset that is to the city of Flowood. Got the golf course right out the back.
Yeah, and you also have a great lounge at the top. I've been there a few times.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's a rooftop. It's kind of like the Graduate.
That's right.
No, it's great.
I forgot about that.
Better bring some sunshades there late in the afternoon, because that sun coming out of the west, buddy. It is beautiful in the winter because you need that warmth. Mm-hmm. In the summer it can cook you a little bit, but it's so nice up there. They've got the tinted windows and all that. It's really a cool setup. I don't know how many people really truly know about it, because I've been there for parties and stuff, but I've also been at times when you would think, hey, there'd be a great crowd tonight.
And
like
that
10
was
people.
A good quiet spot.
Yeah, man.
There you go.
But it's beautiful. It's an asset.
There you go. I'll tell you more about kind of the events of last night later in the show today. I want to start out by letting you know that in Fulton today, it's going to be overcast, stray shower, or thunderstorm possible, high of 87. Wind's going to be light and variable. There just to the east of Tupelo on I-22. Indianola, sunny along with a few clouds. Stray shower, 95 for your high today. Winds light and variable. Right here in the capital city of Jackson, 76 right now. Going to get up to about 91 today, so not oppressively hot. Partial cloudiness early, got some scattered showers, possibility of thunderstorms this afternoon, chance of rain 40%. Currently, humidity kicking at 93%. That's how you start the day.
Yeah, it was sticky yesterday. We were kind of laughing about that. Mm-hmm. You don't have humidity for a few days, and bugs and skeeters and 95 degrees. I got in the car yesterday at lunch, and I was already brow sweating as I walked out. And I hit it, get in there.
Brow sweating.
Yeah, got the brow sweat like I'm on trial or thinking real hard. Get in the car, and it says 102 on the dash. I said, yeah, I thought this was behind us.
No,
it was not.
No, not yet. Picayune, rain showers early with overcast skies later in the day, high of 87. Winds out of the east at 5 to 10 miles an hour. Chance of rain, 40%. A chance of locally heavily. I don't even know what that means. Locally heavy rainfall is possible today there in South Mississippi. I went down a bit of a rabbit hole last night on Christy Mathewson. He was born on this day in 1880, only lived to be 45 years old, but man, what an impact on the baseball field he had in his 45 years. Are you familiar with Mr. Mathewson?
No, definitely. Wasn't he the lefty?
Was he?
I thought he was lefty.
Maybe so.
I thought so.
Baseball Hall of Famer, two-time World Series champion, 1905, and then again in 1921. Played the big leagues for 17 years. 2 times he was a pitching Triple Crown winner. We're talking wins, strikeouts, and ERAs. In 1908, he won a jaw-dropping 37 games, 259 strikeouts, with an ERA below 1.5. He was from Factoryville, Pennsylvania. He had more nicknames than Lance had changes of clothes. Big Six, the Christian Gentleman, Matty, the Gentleman's Hurler.
When you learn it at Factoryville, that was the first one, and then all of the different nicknames. The one that gets me is the Gentleman Hurler.
Yeah.
Man, he's a handsome guy,
Yeah. Among the most dominant pitchers in baseball history, ranks in the all-time top 10 in several key pitching categories, including wins, shutouts, and ERA. Elected to the Hall of Fame as one of the first 5 members, and deservedly so. You hear a lot these days about being a threat to democracy. Perhaps no one has been more of a threat to democracy in the last 20 years than a man who was born on this day in 1930. 95 years old, the Hungarian-American investor, political activist, and philanthropist, creator of the Open Society Foundation, born in Budapest, Hungary. Wonder if they'd take him back. George Soros, 95 years old today.
If he brought his $7.2 billion, they probably would.
Probably so. Probably so. But if he's going to use his $7.2 billion to elect a bunch of liberal judges and not put anybody in jail and try not elect, but get liberal judges and liberal district attorneys in jail who believe that the road to recovery is to, not put people in jail, and when you put them there, let them out early.
Well, he's one of the ones that if you put him in there, take the whole family and put him in there too.
Yeah.
Soros, I'm not a big fan.
What if you just kind of let him hang with the people in jail for a little while?
Oh yeah, I think he would like that. I think he would start handing them money and telling them to go protest and definitely vote Democrat. That would be my guess. But what do I know? He's just the man who broke the Bank of England. That's all.
Yeah. Casey Affleck, an actor, the brother of Ben, is 50 years old today, born in 1975. I don't know that Civil War jokes are necessarily funny, but I did hear a funny one from him. Actually, it was about him. Ben was telling a story about Casey, said that he was making his way through the South, and in South Georgia was pulled over by the stereotypical Georgia highway patrolman, the long, tall, deep voice, whatever, and walks up to the window and kind of tilts his glasses down and says, "Son, you got them California plates on your car there." "Yes, sir." "Don't nobody drive through Georgia this fast." He said, "Well, not since General Sherman, anyway."
Ooh.
Straight to the clink.
Yeah, clink.
Yeah.
That's like My Cousin Vinny, the starting point of that movie. As they're heading south, though. They run across Georgia, get in trouble, went into Alabama. That's where they get thrown in the clink. But that sounds like a modern-day replay of My Cousin Vinny.
Yeah. Plaxico Burress was born on this day in 1977. Is he more famous for shooting him on himself in the leg, or the catch that he made that led to winning the Super Bowl?
I don't know. He was always a favorite of mine. I liked him, even
Eli Manning did too.
Yeah, I liked Plaxico, man. Dude caught touchdowns But yeah, that was weird. You shoot yourself in the leg. Yeah, you definitely get remembered for that. I had a friend that got shot in the butt in high school, but it was somebody sitting behind him, and he didn't even do it himself. But that's something that he's never shaken. You know, you get shot in the butt, and that's $1 million wound, as Forrest Gump says.
Yeah.
He goes, I didn't see no money in that.
Yeah. Hey, can you look ahead one spot and click that link on YouTube there and see if we can get the music?
Yeah.
While he's doing that, I'll tell you that on this day in 1963, Sir Mix-a-Lot was born. Grammy-winning rapper, best known for the iconic hit, Baby Got Back.
Oh, yeah. One of my faves. Mm-hmm. Great. And Sir Mix-a-Lot, I mean, come on, that's bringing back some old school there.
601-879-4395. That is the number for you to jump in on the C Spire text line. We'd love to hear from you. Always enjoy the interaction. 601-879-4395. Got one more birthday for you here as we wrap up our birthday list this morning. Mark. Oh, what is that you got there, Lance? Could that be the Walk of Life?
That's it, baby.
Mark Knopfler, born in 1949, guitarist, singer, founding member of Dire Straits, celebrated for his masterful songwriting and his guitar work. Here comes Johnny. So good. We're back with you right after this. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
Wake up, get up, and start your day right with Mornings with Richard Cross here on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Let this one play for a minute. It takes the build-up takes a minute. Oh, it was there.
Because that's the end.
I forgot we had to stop there.
It's the
We
end
had
of the song.
to.
I could have played the YouTube one though.
Yeah. C-Spire text line open to you, 601-879-4395. Looking for game-changing technology? You need C-Spire on your team. 5G wireless, fiber home internet, and business IT solutions built as tough as your defense. Learn more at cspire.com. C-Spire, inspired by you. I told you, a lot going on today, including the beginning of the cleanup of our nation's capital. But we'll get to that in a minute. Mississippi Attorney General Lynn Fitch announced yesterday that applications for the 2025 period for the Mississippi Opioid Settlement Fund, the application window is now officially open. Organizations working to combat the opioid crisis and support recovery efforts are encouraged to apply for funding. By September 19th, the Mississippi Attorney General's office was one of the first in the nation to sue opioid manufacturers for their role in the epidemic. Since then, Fitch has secured settlement agreements with more than a dozen manufacturers. Distributors, wholesalers, retail pharmacies, and marketers' proceeds are deposited into the Opioid Settlement Fund established by the legislature in 2024. Earlier this year, lawmakers created that fund. Well, they created the Fund Advisory Council, and then they had a meeting, and then they had another meeting, and then they had to cancel that meeting and get it. I was told I needed to stop making jokes about that, so I'll just stop. Anyway, they are working through the terms of the settlement and how it's going to be distributed, but the applications are coming in. This is a cool story. Endural Industries which is a key supplier of equipment to the Department of Defense, has opened its solid rocket motor facility in Stone County. They announced this last week, completed a $75 million expansion in McHenry, now employing 100 people. It's being used to develop tactical solid rocket motors to meet a growing demand for munitions and ongoing conflicts, including the war between Russia and Ukraine. Since breaking ground in Mississippi in 2024, Anduril has test-fired more than 700 motors. Their expansion in the Magnolia State is projected to grow annual production to 6,000 tactical motors by the end of 2026. It's all been helped by the Defense Production Act. And in recent years, the Army and Navy have called upon Anduril to assist in various missile and artillery initiatives. They are one of just 3 suppliers in the United States of rocket motors. The other 2 are Northrop Grumman and L3 Harris.
I didn't know much about solid rocket motors. Isn't
that the trucks with the
I guess the diagram of it's pretty cool. It says they're known for their simplicity, reliability, and long shelf life, making them suitable for various applications, including missile systems, boosters for satellite launches, and even rockets that are made for like models and such. But it's a pretty simple little deal. It's basically a little truncated pyramid. It's got a nozzle and a forward closure and some graphite stuff in there. Different than a liquid rocket, liquid-fueled rocket. But when they were talking about rocket motors, I'm like, don't you just light it? I didn't know there was more to it. I thought it was kind of like
slightly different than your local Roman candle.
That was kind of I was like, a rocket motor? I thought they just lit that thing and it fired off.
Curtis and McCool coming with the funnies this morning. A firefighter's wife was pulled over by a policeman. He asked, "Ma'am, do you know why you were pulled over?" She said, "Yes, because you couldn't pass firefighter school." Hey-o!
Must have some firefighters in the family.
Yeah, must be the case. An investigation is underway here in the capital city after 8 people were shot outside a Jackson nightclub late Sunday night, early Monday morning. Officers with the Capitol Police Department were called to the North Mart Plaza shortly after midnight. Upon arriving, they found 8 individuals ranging from 21 to 40 suffering from gunshot wounds. 8 of them! Victims were transported to a local hospital where 1 remains in critical condition. The other 7 were treated for non-life-threatening injuries. No arrests have been made at this time. If you have relevant information, please call Capitol Police. Similar on a shooting front. This is very, I don't have a news story for you. The fact that 0 information has come out about the Ole Miss football player that was shot in Memphis, Collierville, a couple of weeks ago. Little curious. You got 4 players that were with him that all had to be taken to the hospital for minor injuries. You have a dead young man. You had a big party with a bunch of people there, and you got 40 shell casings. And yet, nobody saw anything. Nothing. And they boosted the reward up to $10,000 now for information leading to an arrest.
I mean, and that's a really nice neighborhood, too. You would think somebody would have seen something. And
makes you wonder what else is going on.
Yeah, I'm kind of like you on that. It doesn't add up.
No. 2 plus 2 is not 4 in this case. President Trump announced officially yesterday that he is taking over Washington's police department and activating 800 members of the National Guard in the hopes of reducing crime, even as city officials stressed crime is already falling in the nation's capital.
Yeah, they like it right where it is, man.
Yeah, I mean,
they're happy with
how
the crime level.
How many different news stories or news programs did you watch where they're like, well, crime is down 26% this year?
It's fine right there. We
yes.
need to get better at this.
The 500-pound person that now weighs 400 pounds clearly is no longer obese. Clearly, no longer an issue. Or is it? The president, flanked by his Attorney General, Pam Bondi, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, FBI Director Kash Patel said that he was declaring a public safety emergency and his administration would be removing homeless encampments. We're going to take our capital back, Trump declared, and said he'd also be getting rid of the slums. For Trump, the effort to take over public safety in Washington reflects an escalation of his aggressive approach to law enforcement, writes the Associated Press. The District of Columbia's status as a congressionally established federal district gives him a unique opportunity to push his tough-on-crime agenda, though he has not proposed solutions to the root causes of homelessness or crime. Actually, he has. He actually has proposed solutions to them. He might not have spelled them out so that you can understand them at the old Associated Press, but what he said is, we're going to put more officers on the street, and we're going to arrest bad guys, and we're going to put them in jail. And guess what we're going to do then? We're going to leave their sorry butts there. Guess what? Crime rates go down. There's the root of the problem. It's not complicated.
No, I mean, crime is not the most difficult thing to figure out. You got to actually have the system set up so that you can.
It's not complicated, Lance. It's not complicated. This is not rocket surgery.
You make it hard.
Yes, you make it hard when you say, you're arrested. Go free, young man or young woman. And that's what's happening all over the country. As we go back to George Soros, 95 years old today, the Open whatever society. Probably the Open Border Society, the Open Jail Cell Door Society.
He probably is a clone anyway. I mean, there's probably
funded
been
all
four
the
of him.
crap. Yeah, his idiot son just married Huma Abedin, or wasn't she the Hillary Clinton girl? No shadiness there. She didn't know anything about any of that stuff. Gracious. I mean, that's the line in your AP story this morning. Though he has not proposed solutions to the root causes of homelessness or crime. Root causes? You don't arrest bad people. And when you do, you don't keep them in jail. There's your cause.
It's kind of like the Democrats. I mean, you got these travel bans to liberal countries now. They're all coming toward the United States saying, please don't send your folks there. It's like, what do you think's going on here? That we're like rounding people up and throwing them in camps? I mean, illegals are getting chunked out. That's what's happening. I mean, really, what else is going on that makes America a travel ban for Canada and Germany and all these liberal countries?
By the way, Trump invoked Section 740 of the D.C. Home Rule Act in an executive order to declare a crime emergency. Can only be done for 30 days unless Congress changes that law. We're back with you after this with some sports headlines. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
From the Sabre. You're waking up to what's happening. Mornings with Richard Cross. Right now on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Standing on a corner, looking for your babe. Standing on a corner, looking for your babe.
Because rabbit holes seem to be the thing that I keep finding myself in lately. I just spent most of that break reading like transcripts from A Few Good Men.
Oh, goodness, yes.
Man, some of the lines in
They're
that
great.
movie and the dialogue, it's one of the best conversational dialogue movies of the last 40 years, 50 years.
It's funny you mentioned that.
I say that as if I have some broad base of like movie knowledge, but I think it's really, really good.
I think you're right. I've watched a lot of stuff lately, and it's like people don't talk like that. You know, when you catch actual conversational dialogue correctly in a movie or a show, it really, you can feel it. And when you don't, you know, I've seen some really good shows where, you know, you're like, okay, some of the conversation, it feels right. And then you get into more of the intimate moments, and it's just so cardboard and rehearsed. You know, I feel like movies like A Few Good Men you get the right emotion. You get the right conversation. That movie's just a classic, period, from start to finish.
Just outstanding.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise, I mean, I know for all of his quirkiness, his abilities as an actor, and then Jack Nicholson when he's doing the Jack Nicholson thing. I mean, there's so many good roles that Jack Nicholson has played. I always do that double tap. Like, are we talking about Jack Nicklaus, the golfer, Jack Nicholson, the actor? Yeah, Jack Nicholson. There's so many good roles that he's played. But sitting up there, Colonel Jessup and the...
You can't handle the truth, Kathy.
You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall.
I like Kevin Bacon in that movie.
Oh, he's good. He's good. C-Spire text line open, 601-879-4395. Thomas says, morning, gentlemen. Too many Larry Hahn videos in my feed. Maybe do it now. I'm waiting for someone to use the Doyle quote from Sling Blade on me.
Which one's the Doyle quote? You talking about the...
He's got a hammer in his hand. Is he getting ready to throw a hammer?
I think that's when Dwight Yoakam, isn't that Doyle? Yeah, he's Doyle in there.
Okay.
He's getting upset.
Somebody says, great dialogue, Lonesome Dove, the best, hands down.
I was a kid. I
exceptional.
love that. It was made for TV. You know, that was it's like a 3-part series.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Sports headlines brought to you every day by Pearl River Resort. Find them online, pearlriverresort.com. Pearl River Resort, your home for family fun, casino thrills, and live entertainment. The AP preseason top 25 came out yesterday, and it was historic. Lance, it was historic. Did you realize that Texas, the University of Texas, the Longhorns, have never been the preseason number one team in college football?
Really? That seems wrong, but I mean, I believe you.
Texas received 25 first place votes to give the SEC the preseason number one team for a record 5th straight year. Number 2, a surprise to some, Penn State. Yeah, wait till they flop. 23 first place votes for Jimmy Franklin's Nittany Lions, 11 first place votes for Ohio State. Clemson got 4, Georgia got 1, Oregon got 1 as well. So a bunch of different teams getting some love in first place. So you got Texas 1, Penn State 2, Ohio State 3, Clemson 4, Georgia 5. Notre Dame, Oregon, Alabama, LSU, Miami round out the top 10. What about Ole Miss? Where are they? 21. Little surprising, to be perfectly honest with you.
I think it's a good team, but as far as the number of returning
so
starters,
many question marks.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's wrong.
No, yeah.
I'm just saying it's a little surprising, considering with most polls that have come out so far, you've seen them in that 16 to 18 range, a little
16,
lower. Yeah. SEC teams: South Carolina 13. Florida.
That seems ambitious, with South Carolina. Good quarterback, but no.
North Sellers, preseason first-team All-SEC quarterback. Florida 15. SMU made the playoff last year. They're 16. Oklahoma 18. Texas A&M 19. I don't see that. Ole Miss 21. Tennessee 24.
You think there would be some recency bias with A&M at some point? It's like, you always hope. Everybody wishfully hopes that A&M, other than the people on their schedule, are going to be a 10, 11, 12-win team regularly. But it's kind of like with Sumlin. He got the nickname 8-4. Texas 8-4 is the little abbreviation. And I'm with you, man. I can't ever buy into A&M actually meeting expectations in a season. It's hard for me to ever believe that.
Texas 8-4.
Yeah, Texas 8-4. And then the other big news I thought was pretty big stuff was Alabama naming the starting quarterback Ty Simpson. I think there's been everybody kind of thought he was going to have it, but that's always a big deal for Bama. That new guy fitting in the groove, and getting in. I'm curious how it's going to work. This will be what? DeBoer's first true, having a season under him and developing a guy into his system, where last year he had to kind of plug what he had in there, which was a good
Jalen Milroe, certainly an athletic guy, but did not throw it particularly well. Simpson and his teammates were informed of the decision during a meeting yesterday. Alabama coach Kalen DeBoer and offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb said multiple times this summer that Simpson would be the starter if the Crimson Tide had to play right now, but they didn't have to play right then. Simpson is in his 4th year on campus, served as the backup for each of the last 2 years. Redshirt sophomore Austin Mack and true freshman Keelan Russell were the other two quarterbacks competing for that starting job. CC in Senatobia says, wonder what those Bama fans are thinking. Their precious Tide not even in the top 5.
Well, when you have a quarterback that's been there for a half decade and hasn't played much, that's usually, to me, anytime in the SEC you're breaking in a new QB and you're top 15, I'm kind of putting the brakes. That's just me. It's kind of like when you get a new coach in the SEC.
Yeah.
You just kind of, the speculation's always like, oh, they're going to be great. See it done.
Show me. Let's all be Missouri. Show me.
Show me.
Let's see here. I got a message from the 731. What is that?
Yeah, I'm going to look that one
Jackson,
up.
Tennessee?
I should know that one.
Is that right?
Before.
Fox News highlighting Tupelo this morning. Yeah, the Fox News 50 States Across America deal stopping in downtown Tupelo today. I think Steve Ducey was going to be there. We're going to learn a little bit more about that this morning when we get into the 8 o'clock hour. Lucia Randle is going to stop by, Executive Director at Tupelo Main Street. What's all the hubbub about Tupelo this morning? Also today, Sean Tindell will join us, Commissioner of the Department of Public Safety. We'll get an update from DPS. And a couple of things specifically we'll try to get into as well. And Matt Laubhaun. You perhaps know him formerly as TV newsman Matt Laubhaun. Now he is multimedia newsman, online-only newsman, computer and app weatherman, chief meteorologist. Matt Laubhaun, he is the founder of Mississippi MS Live Weather. And we're going to talk to him about that. I mean, there is a time not too terribly long ago where being a local weatherman was kind of the pinnacle of the meteorological career. But times have changed in television. It is a different world, and Matt Laubhaun has taken a big old flying leap of faith. Now, at one point, it felt like he was being pushed into that leap, and then they threw him a lifeline, and he was able to get to a point where he's able to, much nicer guy than this, but like, take your lifeline and shove it. I'm good. I got a parachute.
It looks like he's having a good time, though.
It does.
You know,
It does.
I went out and looked at
very
the
talented.
website and read about him more because I didn't know much about him, and I was like, I got to just go learn a little bit about this guy. And, man, he looks like he's having a good time, living your best life. You know, sometimes
That's right.
you got to take those risks to kind of trampoline into the next phase of the world you're supposed to be in, and looks like he's where he's supposed to be.
Boom, I nailed it. 731, West Tennessee.
Yeah,
Tennessee excluding Memphis.
Excluding the Memphis Metro. So, yeah, you had some maybe up there north of Pickwick and that area. Beautiful, man, such a beautiful area up there.
Selmer, Henderson.
It's kind of hard to get to, you know, from these,
Alamo.
Yeah, good stuff.
All the way up into Dyersburg.
I'm a big fan of the north side of that Pickwick Lake, though, man. Ooh, golly, it's so pretty. The high ground up there. I don't know if you've been up there much. I've
have not.
A few times we had a guy that I worked with that he, in the financial world. He lived and worked out of his house up there, and it was beautiful. It was sitting up on a bluff overlooking like the marina, and it was just such a picturesque. You didn't feel like you were in northeast Mississippi, Tennessee. You felt like you were like way out in Colorado or something, you know. Just such a beautiful setting. I don't know how many people that we have listening this morning that are from that neck of the woods, but take a picture of a sunrise for me, please.
There you go.
I'm sure it's beautiful.
MLB scoreboard yesterday, Phillies over the Reds, Yankees over the Twins. Wait, what? The Yankees won a game? Unbelievable. Tigers over the White Sox, Brew Crew over the Pirates 7-1. Royals beat the Nats, Cardinals 3-2 over the Rockies, Rangers 7-6 over the D-backs. The Stros beat the Sox 7-6. Angels over the Dodgers 7-4, Padres 4-1 over the Giants. And the Tampa Bay Rays, a 7-4 winner over the Athletics. Standings right now, American League East. Well, it's Toronto that is playing good baseball. 4.5 in front of the Red Sox, 6 in front of the Yankees. Detroit with a 6.5 game lead over the Guardians in the Central. Houston and Seattle, just one game separating those two teams. Philly lead it by 6 over the Mets, who are in a free fall, losers of 7 in a row. Brew Crew leads it by 6.5 over the Cubs, and out west, the Dodgers now just a one-game lead over the Padres. That's your sports update brought to you by Pearl River Resort.
From the Venable Glass Truck.
Waking up Mississippi. From South Haven to Scuba, it's Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
Got your Mississippi Lottery update coming up just momentarily. MSLottery.com is the website. James in Oxford sends us a picture of Jupiter and Venus this morning. Now, James,
That's aliens, man.
am I just gonna have to trust you?
Yeah.
Because
We're
there
being
is
invaded.
no. I mean, it's impressive. Let's not kid ourselves. There is no way I know that is Jupiter and Venus, other than just absolutely taking your word for it. And so that's what I'll do. But
I like it, though.
I don't know.
Yeah, that looks, I don't know, man. Looks a little alien to me. Trump said he was going to let us know about all that stuff.
He did. Yeah. Going to declassify all the otherworldly life, extraterrestrial life, UFOs, and I don't believe it. I don't think he's going to do it.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
It doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of reason to.
We did get JFK. We did get MLK.
But with aliens, that's a whole other life form. And, if they exist and you tell everybody all of a sudden there will be nobody voting in midterms. So you got to wait till you get past that. So I would imagine strategery, a little George Bush word for you. We got some strategery. I believe it would come in December after the midterms, if it's happening.
Did you see that clip?
Of which one?
It was from the Today Show, like Jenna Bush Hager hosts that, and it's, I think, called Jenna and Friends.
It is, yeah.
And so she had Willie Geist on there, and they were talking about a recent visit, and Willie said, I told a story at a recent dinner about your dad that I previously had told your dad, and they were just kind of talking about George W. Bush's gaffes along the way. And he said, I gave you guys at SNL some stuff to work with. I was having dinner with Lorne Michaels and Will Ferrell, who played George Bush.
Yeah, very well.
And he's like, I gave y'all some material to work with through the years. Yes, Mr. President, you did. We are grateful for that. He's like, remember that time I said strategery?
Yeah.
And said Lorne Michaels and Will Ferrell looked at each other and they said, Mr. President, you never said strategery. We made that up. Saying that you said strategery and kept the bit going. He goes, you mean to tell me I never actually said strategery?
Oh, man. It's a good time.
He said, but what about that time I said misunderstatement?
Yeah, misunderstatement. I always loved the nuclear, too. That was the one that gets me. I mean, It was like when you're a kid and it's always nuclear.
Yeah.
Go with the nuclear option. Not nuclear, but it's always nuclear.
Yeah.
He had some good ones. I loved George Bush's his mannerisms.
Nobody got rich last night. Estimated jackpot for tomorrow, Wednesday, August 13th, $526 million. The cash value is $241. Last night's number, 6, 16, 33, 40, 62. Powerball of 2, power play multiplier of 2. Mega Millions tonight, $182 million in the kitty. You're taking home just over $82 million if you win it all. Latest lottery news is coming your way. Join the Mississippi Lottery at 10 as they go live and stream on the official Mississippi Lottery Facebook page. Newest game updates, promotion news, winter stories, insider info you don't want to miss. That's coming up today, 10 a.m. Check them out on Facebook Live. Got some winners all over the state, including a Meridian man who won $25,000 on a ticket from Murphy Oil. It was a $2 Cruising the Coast scratch-off. and had a $5 scratch off, 5 times the joy, 5 times the cash. Ridgeland man, $10,000 on a ticket that he got from La Guadalupe in Ridgeland.
I know where that place is.
Do you?
Yeah. There's a
there?
little area over there that there's a very nice market that's a Mexican market, and they have a buffet in the back, and it's La Guadalupe is pretty close.
Yeah.
There's a bakery over there also, but the store, I mean, you feel like you've gone into like a market in Mexico. They've got everything. I mean, it's you want a sombrero, you need the little candles that have the saints on them, anything you can think of that's in that store. But you got to go all the way to the back, and there's a buffet line back there. And it is lit up amazing.
Can you get the Saints candle that's got Ted Lasso on it?
I guarantee you they've got it. I mean, they've got every candle you could imagine. But, yeah, it's...
I have that on my on a shelf in my office. Somebody has a gag gift, gave me a Ted Lasso candle. And I'm like, I'll just put that up there. That'll be work. That, I've got my popsicle stick SuperTalk logo that my youngest she is an arts and crafts junkie, which means that sometimes our house feels like there's a lot of stuff in a lot of places because another craft project has come along.
Keep them busy, man. I grew up with an artist's grandmother, and I was going in. That's the first thing we did, get the fingers with paint and get to painting.
Talk a little bit about the Lincoln Reagan Trump dinner last night in Rankin County where Tommy Duff was the keynote speaker. How much trouble is Adam Schiff in? Senator Mike Lee from Utah, he wants the Bowser Act and a little good for thee, not for me.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Want to know what's happening in Mississippi politics?
Yes.
You're in the right place. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Mornings with Richard Cross. Thank you for being with us. Glad to have you along for the ride on Super Talk Mississippi. This hour of the show brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business can be tough. And if you're struggling with HR, benefits, payroll, you are not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They can provide a full range of employer services, plus a custom plan that fits you. Give them a call today, 601-206-7966. 601-206-7966. MWG, Morgan White Group, another Mississippi-based company that has been wildly successful, doing good work right here in the Magnolia State. MWGEmployerServices.com. Last night was an interesting night. Rankin County had their executive committee dinner and gala. It was the first time in about a decade they've had that specific event, and it was, to say it was well attended would be an understatement. Nearly 600 people, the ballroom, and tip of the cap to the organizers of that event. There were a lot of people that did a lot of work behind the scenes to get ready for it. It was beautiful, beautiful setup, great program. And I will tell you this is I'm borrowing a line from Mark Baker, who's I guess he's the executive director of the Republican Party in Rankin County. But it's a line that I was thinking about before he even said it from the podium last night. I'm gonna forget her name. I think it was Skylar. When Andy Gibson prays over you and Skylar sings the national anthem over you, you are. He said you're good for the week, and he was right. It was kind of a who's who in politics in Mississippi. Former Governor Barber was there. Haley Barber was there last night. My favorite, this is a personal anecdote, Lance. I spoke to the former governor after it was over, and I said, Governor Barber, my level of respect has gone up for you tonight. Like, I respect you more now than I did when I walked in here. And he kind of looked at me funny. and I reached down and I pulled up my pants leg just a touch. I didn't have socks on. I was wearing a blue suit with brown leather shoes and didn't have socks on. That's kind of what I do in the summertime. Governor also didn't have socks on.
Good, yeah, that's the way you got to roll, man. I'm an anti-sock person in the summer.
Yeah, he was. He and I had that in common last night. Commissioner of Agriculture was there. The Commissioner Tindell, who we're going to talk with in a little while, was there last night. Just everybody that has anything to do with politics in Rankin County was there. Secretary of State Michael Watson was there. Mike Hurst was there last night. I shouldn't start naming names because I'm absolutely
going to
forget
cover
people.
600 people.
And it was that kind of a night. But Tommy Duff was the keynote speaker last night. This was the first, and I'm going to say quasi. It was the first quasi-political speech from Tommy Duff. And obviously it is, the worst kept secret ever that there is a possibility, though there certainly has not been an announcement, but a very real possibility that Tommy Duff is going to be on the ticket in the Republican primary as a candidate for governor in the state of Mississippi. And I think that's part of the reason that the attendance was what it was last night. Now, it was a great event, and I think regardless of who the speaker was or could have been, it would have been well attended. It was a fundraiser for the Republican Party in Rankin County. But there were a lot of people there last night that were curious.
If the suit rental place would have had a 44 Swolt yesterday, affordably, I would have made it. But I didn't have the clothing to be let in the door.
Oh, you would have been fine.
I would have loved to have listened to him speak. It's something I've been waiting to hear, and you and I discussed that. I was just I was curious how this was going to go.
There are a couple of things that stood out to me. I mean, it's no secret that Tommy and Jim Duff have been incredibly successful. They are brothers that have worked together for the better part of 50 years. They have had numerous companies. I think currently within their portfolio, the Duff Capital Investors portfolio, I think there are 24 companies currently. You see those KLLM refrigerated trucks running up and down the interstates, highways and byways all across the country. That's theirs.
I'll say one thing about who they have that runs KLM, Jim Richards, top notch, absolute great guy.
I kind of felt bad. For Jim Richards. He's a punching bag. I mean,
he handles it all.
Oh, he's so good. Just the greatest guy. But it was like everybody wanted to take a shot at Jim Richards. And then Tommy actually, he said, I'm not going to pick on him. And he talked about what a good job that Jim has done and how he was one of the early employees at KLLM. And he said he's now the most successful trucker in the United States, running an incredible operation there. But Southern Tire Mart that was the family business. And Tommy had a funny line. He said, I was the sixth employee. He said, I'd gone to law school, and my dad said, he said he wanted to be in business and was thinking about coming home to be part of the family business. And his dad told him, he said, son, there's not going to be a business here in 3 years. He said, if you're going to law school, you need to be a lawyer. And his father was a lawyer. And he said, my father was a pretty successful attorney, which is a good thing because he wasn't very good in the tire business. But Tommy came home. He said the problem with being the sixth employee was payroll only covered 5. So he worked without a paycheck for the first couple of years. But they have built that into an incredible business. But the point that I was making, or was going to make, when talking about the fact that they've been so incredibly successful, that they are a billionaire, I cannot imagine a more relatable billionaire in the United States. His delivery was very genuine. He spoke for 30 minutes, and he did so without notes. Not one time did he step behind the podium last night. He had a lapel mic on. He stood beside the podium. He engaged the crowd. He told a couple of stories. I thought this was kind of funny. He said, somebody asked me when he was appointed to the college board, said, Tommy, why'd they put you on the college board? You're not an educator. You don't have any university experience. And his response was, that's probably a good question. But then he talked about finding his role within that group on the college board, and he said, my business experience ended up kind of paying off. He said there were a couple of things that we looked at that just didn't make sense to me. They were looking at bond payments. So 8 public universities plus UMMC, so 9 if you count that as a ninth, even though, as we talked about yesterday, it's very much under the umbrella of Ole Miss. But he talked about bond payments. And he said, all 8 universities had bond issues that they were dealing with, and they ranged in interest rates from 3% to 6.5%. And he said we were at that point in a time where interest rates for bonds, refinancing on bonds, was at 2.95%. And he suggested that perhaps they look at combining all of those bonds and refinancing them. And in doing so, at 2.95% across 8 universities, they saved $1 billion.
Yeah. I mean, I did that with a client who had 15 houses, and, same issue. You're paying up here.
I'm sorry. They saved $100 million, not $1 billion. Saved $100 million in interest payments on those bonds.
Yeah, it's what you do. And then you don't go out and borrow more money. You pay down the balance, and you pay less in interest.
Did the same thing with health insurance. Yeah. The insurance across 9 different university campuses, you had different pay structures, and you had different benefits, and you had different premiums, and he said they bid it out, rolled it all into one, and saved $12 million the first year.
And you're not talking about necessarily consolidating, you're talking about refinancing, going from here's where we are in this interest rate, refinancing out maybe to the same term you originally started with, say 30 years or 10 years, whatever, at a lower rate. And you've during that time period, you've paid off some of that bond. So, it's a great idea. Having people with a business mindset that know how to do this makes a big difference in the bottom line. And I'll go back to Kirk Fordyce. I mean, go back to 95? I mean, he was your first real outsider that came into the Mississippi Republican Party with a chance to won it. And, he was one of those guys that showed you, hey, you can have some professionalism. You can have this business world out here. You can be successful there and then come over here into the world of politics and have a grand impact. And, again, I think Duff is one of those types.
It was impressive, and my guess is that there are some folks who are considering being in that governor's race that I don't know. They're at least thinking about it this morning as to whether or not that makes the most sense. And obviously, again, there's been no announcement from the Duff camp about that, but we'll see where that goes in the future. But again, a tip of the cap to everybody in Rankin County that was involved with that. It was an outstanding event last night. We got more coming up with you. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi. The Commissioner of the Department of Public Safety, Sean Tindell, joins me next.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
Welcome to the show. When they play their music, that hard rock music, they like it with a lot of flash, but it's still that same old backbeat rhythm.
Glad to be with you this morning. I want to tell you about my friends at David Fisher Land Company. Website is davidfisherland.com. Are you looking for a piece of property? Whether it's just a spot to get away, maybe it's a spot to build a dream home, maybe it's investment land, farmland that's available. They've got a lot of good stuff happening at David Fisher Land Company. Go to their website, davidfisherland.com. In fact, there is a new listing that they have just put on the market. It's in Chula, Mississippi, kind of right there between the hills and the Delta. It is about 250 acres, give or take, and it is priced to sell under $1 million. I know that's a big number, but when you talk about the possibilities, and if you've looked at the price of land, you know that is possibly a bargain. It's in Holmes County, Mississippi. You can check it out on their website, davidfisherland.com. That's davidfisherland.com. Give Jack or David or Travis a call, and they will help you with all of your land needs. davidfisherland.com, David Fisher Land Company. Glad to be with you this morning. I feel like I need to apologize right out of the gate. I've got my first guest. The Commissioner of the Department of Public Safety is with me, Sean Tindell. We were sitting close enough last night to each other, and the dessert options were pretty good. Lance, they had turtle cheesecake, and that's what happened to be sitting right in front of me. And there was a piece of strawberry cake, of which I am a big fan. And at one point, the commissioner said, "Yeah, if you want the strawberry cake, you're welcome to it." He got up from his seat at one point. When he came back, that strawberry cake was in front of me, and he looked at me and he said, "I didn't know you were really going to take it." and so, as a peace offering, I would like to offer you this Aha Cronut that Lance brought for me this morning. You can put it in the microwave and warm it up just a touch, and I think it'll make up for not getting the strawberry cake last night.
It's close. We're going to have to keep trying.
I don't know. You take a bite of that, and you might be questioning. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Good to see you. And thank you for the donut. I really do appreciate that.
Cop donut. There's a joke there,
I'm
sure, somewhere. You are in the middle of a tour of the state of Mississippi that has just kind of gotten underway. 82 counties in 82 days.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know, it's we've had our public safety summit where law enforcement from across the state have come, and we've met, and we've had meetings and seminars. I've gone to the Chiefs Association meetings, Sheriff's Association meetings, Prosecutors Association meetings, but I think it's very important as the Public Safety Commissioner for the entire state to go to each of these counties, meet with the sheriffs, meet with the chiefs, the folks in local law enforcement in their backyards, and hear what's happening there, and take their concerns and bring them back to headquarters at DPS and formulate maybe policies internally, maybe look at legislation that we could request that would help these communities across the state, both big and small. You know, and it's one of the things that's really magical about our state. If you go from one county to the next, big to small, it really is a tapestry of different communities that are interwoven that, in my mind, make what is the greatest state in the nation, Mississippi, because we all have those core principles, I think, across the board. That we love our neighbors, we treat each other, we try to treat each other with respect, and we want safe neighborhoods and good places to raise our kids. And so when I go to Webster County and I meet with that sheriff, and he has a little bit of a different point of view because of the size of that county compared to maybe DeSoto County, where there's over 1,000 law enforcement officers locally working in DeSoto County. But then you see the commonalities that we need to focus on in law enforcement and bring those things back. Again, go to the legislature, look internally at policies we have, and just really put the boots on the ground and hear their concerns. And that's why we're doing it. We feel like it's important. It's fast. But I don't want to spread it out. You know, everywhere we go, I'm sitting there taking notes. I'm listening to what they're telling me so that we can put it all together and look at what we can do for the future of our state.
So you're still early in this tour. I think you told me before we came on 8 counties so far. Is there an early theme? I know you just talked about the differences in based on size, population, geography, all of those things. But have you heard a theme in these early conversations?
Recruiting and retention is something that's big, directly tied to salaries. Of course, PERS has a new tier coming forward in March. There's a lot of concern in the first responder community that the officers that stick around after 15 years will no longer stick around in this new tier. So that is a concern. The other thing that seems to continually pop up is really when we're looking at from a criminal perspective, drugs and the impact on our community, particularly in juvenile justice systems, keep coming up everywhere. And it doesn't matter if it's a big county or a small county. The impact of drugs in our communities, as well as juvenile crime and what do we do with these juvenile offenders, is something that's happening everywhere.
I hope you'll forgive me. I probably should have led with this. Tragic news out of South Mississippi, down around the coast, a week or so ago, with a highway patrolman who was on a motorcycle that was involved in an accident. Any update that you can pass along there?
Trooper Tavon Moore is a fighter. And a young man that 28 years old was involved in a single motorcycle accident when it went off the road, and he's got a long road ahead of him. He's battling right now. He's trying to get things right. Right now he has lost movement in his lower extremities. So Rehab's going to be important to see if he can get any of that back, and he's got to be in that right mindset. So we're meeting with the family, we're meeting with doctors, and we're trying to, coordinate efforts to make sure he gets everything he needs in terms of his care. And the other thing that we've been working on is trying to help the family. Of course, in this type of incident, he's there, so his wife's there. She has a job. She's losing that money. His mom and dad are there. They have a job and they can't make their money, and then they've got to have a place to stay while they're staying with him in New Orleans. So we're looking at ways that we can try to help them. We do have a foundation, a public safety foundation, that we're going to put out requests. If anybody would like to donate to the family, they can do that, and we can make sure that we can help cover their expenses when they're away from work and staying with him. But he's battling. He's gonna get there. He's a trooper, inside and out, and he's going to be okay. It's just going to take some time.
I think the good news I hear, though, there is what could have been very, very serious turned out not to be life-threatening.
That's right.
Or it may have been for a little while, but at least it sounds like he's making progress.
It was very much life-threatening in the beginning, and that's where he's really already showed the tenacity to fight and come through. And again, that was a Saturday afternoon about 3:30 for me, just one of those calls you hate to get. I was heading home, and the accident occurred about 5 miles from my house. So I turned around and went straight up there, and then straight to Gulfport Memorial to meet him when he got there. And it's just tragic, and it shows you what our first responders do each and every day. They put themselves out on the line trying to make our community safer, and all too often just aren't rewarded enough for what they do. And a big request I'm going to make this year is trying to get highway patrol and state law enforcement salaries up at our agency. And I was meeting with the sheriff in DeSoto County, sheriff in Tunica County, and they're starting all their deputies at or over $60,000.
Oh wow!
They're doing good. They're making that a priority for their law enforcement, and we want to make it a priority for ours. And that's where I think we need to be, because of the risks they take, the professionalism in which they're expected to work these days, and those salaries ought to be commensurate with what they have to do and the risk that they take to do that job.
There are some states where it feels like there is a large presence of motorcycle cops. That doesn't seem to be as much the case in Mississippi. What does that load look like?
I think it varies from agency to agency. Most of your larger agencies do have a motorcycle division. A lot of times it's used for ceremonial purposes or parades. And the reality is, from an administrative perspective, they're certainly cheaper to maintain, and they don't cost as much, and they are effective as far as speed, catching up to speeders.
They're also dangerous.
They're also dangerous. And then that's, one of the reasons why a lot of departments don't use them as the primary vehicle for their law enforcement. And, of course, we grew up in the same area watching Chips on Saturday night.
It absolutely glorified that with the California Highway Patrol.
It did. But I just don't know that it's that large of any department's primary force in equipment these days. It can be used, but again, I don't know that it's something that we'll ever see being the primary source of their equipment as far as what they use out on the roads.
C-Spire text line is open to you, 601-879-4395. If you've got questions for the commissioner, we can try to work those in. On the other side of the break, we're going to talk about what counties are doing with regard to the removal of hemp products in convenience stores. There was an AG's ruling a couple of months ago, and we'll talk about what that looks like in practicality. Is there clarity across the state in all the different jurisdictions for how that's going to be handled? We'll ask Commissioner Tindell about that on the other side of this timeout. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk Mississippi. Again, the C-Spire text line is open to you at 601-879-4395. Your team has you covered on the field. C-Spire has you covered everywhere else with the best technology for home, work, and on the go. Backed by local 24/7 customer support. Learn more at cspire.com. C-Spire, inspired by you. That cronut's good, but you got to warm it up. We got a microwave just around the corner. We can do it in the break. We're back with you right after this.
From the 2 to 3 on Super Talk Mississippi.
Benton County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Find out what's happening across your state. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Sports Talk Mississippi on the road again this week, Wednesday afternoon. That's tomorrow. Stop number 2 on the Not Fall Camp Tour in Starkville. We'll be at Two Brothers Smoked Meats, and got a peek at the guest lineup. Star-studded. We got a bunch of great guests that are going to be joining us on site in Starkville tomorrow. And our Not Fall Camp Tour is presented by Pearl River Resort, pearlriverresort.com. Great giveaways. Not good, great giveaways.
I'm not eligible, Commish. I'll be right here. I never get invited to the fun stuff. I think they're embarrassed of me.
Yeah. It's not that, Lance. It's just we think you're taking a nap at that point of the day.
Right, exactly. Maybe.
Yeah.
But if I could get some freebies now, I'm in.
Commissioner Sean Tindell is my guest. I'll give you a couple of messages from the C Spire text line. Here's one. When will county sheriff's deputies be allowed to use radar to control speeding on county roads?
Well, that's obviously something that would be up to the legislature to consider. And, I certainly think, particularly in some of our larger counties where you have more urban areas that have not been incorporated, maybe there's a need for some of that. So, it's one of those things from a public safety standpoint. I don't think it can be argued that it would be helpful, but the decision just has to be made.
I got you. I do know that there are a lot of people that theoretically, if they were driving slightly over the speed limit, are sometimes relieved and like, whew, that was a sheriff's deputy. Thank goodness.
I've never done that.
Yeah, well, I wasn't suggesting that you would. All right, so this hemp products law that is in place where local jurisdictions now have the authority to go into convenience stores where unregulated hemp products were being sold just over the counter, available to anybody that came in. Those are supposed to be removed from the shelves. But it feels to me like there have been a lot of questions like, okay, how is this going to be implemented? When is this going to be implemented? Is it happening the same way county to county? I think it was June 11th when the Attorney General's opinion came down that said, these products, if I remember the wording correctly, are not FDA approved and therefore can't be sold in convenience stores, gas stations, et cetera. I may not be exact on that.
That's pretty much for human consumption.
Okay.
Is the key delineation there. And so, if you go back 5 or 6 years when hemp was legalized on the federal level under the Farm Bill, then there was a lot of confusion as to what extent you could use it, and it showed up in grocery stores and how it was being used, and there was a little provision in the law.
Yes, if I may, because I do think that's important. I think that's gotten glossed over. The reason that this is available is because the most recent Farm Bill, which is now expired but has just kind of been extended, that's what allowed the hemp products to be sold legally.
That's right. And then on the state level, we also passed legislation that said, okay, we're going to allow that, but there was a caveat in the state legislation that said it couldn't be for human consumption. And so then you get into this legal battle, if you will, of the minds of what's controlling the federal law or the state law that is more restrictive. And in the AG's opinion, she followed the state law, which again says that it cannot be for human consumption.
Okay.
And so now many of the local departments, I know Rankin County's done it and others, have reached out to the stores because they know what stores in their county, in their cities, are selling these products, and have told them under this law, you're not to sell these products. If you do, then we're going to have to arrest you. On the statewide level, we've had varying conversations about putting a hard deadline in for across the state to make sure that there's some consistency from county to county on how that is done and making sure that it gets off the shelf. And I think it's a good thing. One of the biggest concerns I have when I walk into these stores and I've seen these products is, what about these kids that are under 21 coming in and getting this? What about teenagers and people that are too young, I think, to start buying that kind of stuff, get a hold of it?
And one of the concerns was the packaging, right? I mean, it was made to look like candy or rope Skittles, or I'm not getting my candies right when I describe this, but it was marketed in the same way that normal
Just like it. I mean, and there's no other reason to market that other than to try to attract it to young people. I mean, there's just simply not. So, all these folks that want to legalize marijuana, hey, you've got your opinions and you can have them. But you can't sit there and tell me we're not trying to market this to kids and then put it in the Skittle wrapping. I mean, it looks like something that a kid's going to be drawn to.
Yeah.
And so to that extent, I have no sympathy for you. That is not something that needs to be getting in the hands of children, young kids, and especially with the vapes too. It becomes very, very, very hard with the vapes for these kids. They start getting that product to know what they're using, and it's. It has an impact on their brain. Study after study after study shows that early use of marijuana, hemp, does have an impact on these young individuals and their future development. So, again, I know there's some medical uses. I know there's reasons that some people need to take it for a variety of reasons. Go see your doctor, go to the dispensary, and get it through the mechanisms that have been set up by the state of Mississippi for those products.
So you said there had been discussion about a universal date when this would all go into effect. It actually is in effect, and counties can move at their own pace for now, right? Would that edict come directly from your office, or does that have to come from the legislature? How would that work?
No, there's a point where we'll put out something, and I would imagine it'd be very soon, where we start making it a directive of NBN to also start enforcing this statewide. So even if a local jurisdiction, let's just say for whatever reason, did not want to deal with it, a county, that the Bureau of Narcotics from a statewide level perspective would start coming in and saying, you got to get this off the shelf.
Yeah, I live in Oxford. I've talked with Chief McCutcheon about it in Oxford, and this was something that they very much were advocating for and believe it's the right thing to do. But he, like many of his colleagues across the state, was concerned about manpower. He said, we could spend a lot of time policing gas stations about what they are selling and what's available. But in terms of like the hierarchy of things that are really, really important from a public safety standpoint, that may not be at the top of the list. How do you manage those two things concurrently?
And it's a challenge. And you do have to prioritize. I mean, I'm definitely more concerned about heroin and fentanyl and crack cocaine and methamphetamine than I am these things on the shelf. But they're all a concern, so we have to give it all attention. And part of that's, again, trying to grow our force. NBN needs more resources. We need additional NBI investigators. And what we're trying to do is do that so that we can also, because all these things are important. Some might be more important than others, but we need to be able to tackle this issue on the statewide level as well.
One of the things that we know about fentanyl is it doesn't take much, right? It doesn't take much bad to create a really, really big problem. And unfortunately, there have been way too many tragic deaths, especially among young people, that have happened far too early with that. We know that there's been a crackdown on border security. We think less of it is coming into the United States, hopefully less of it coming into Mississippi. Have you noticed an appreciable drop yet?
We have an overdose deaths, and I think it's a two-part prong. One, I think some of the supply has been pulled back with the tightening of the border, which is great. The other thing that we set out on a mission to do with NBN and with local departments to make sure we were going into schools, talking to young people about the dangers of taking a pill. You might think this is a prescription-grade pill that you're getting from a friend, when in fact it's been made in a clandestine lab and it's a fake one, but it's been laced with fentanyl. And those are what were killing a lot of young people, taking something that they thought was okay, that wasn't that powerful, and because it was laced with fentanyl, it killed them.
Is that most concerning for you on college campuses?
It's most concerning. We saw a lot on college campuses and among young people, but it's concerning everywhere. I mean, it really is. You hate to see anybody that's, whether they're a drug addict or just an occasional user, find themselves losing their life overtaking that substance. And so education is such an important part of that. And so going into these schools, having those conversations, cracking down on these pill presses. I saw there was a big bust in one of our counties just working with NBN just last week where somebody was pressing these pills to make them look like pharmaceutical grade pills and get them off the market.
Just a minute or so left with Commissioner Sean Tindell, Commissioner of Public Safety in Mississippi. We get this question, and this strikes me as one. It's like, good grief, how do you even start? What about illegal gambling in Mississippi? We know the Gaming Commission's got certain rules. They've tried to push back on illegal sports betting, sites that aren't authorized to be operating in Mississippi. Where does that fall on the radar for the Department of Public Safety?
We're really not that involved with that. That would all fall underneath the gaming agents. And so they typically look into those types of operations. Of course, if we came across a big one, we would follow up on it. But so much of it today, when you think about those things, it's not the backroom casino in some gas station. Most people just go to the casino. It's usually online and sports betting and our good old our good old college bookies that are running that type of backdoor
Does that still
type
exist?
operation. Probably not like it used to, but I'm sure somewhere on a college campus somebody's trying to make a little money on it.
There are maybe a few of those still floating around. Great visiting with you this morning. Always appreciate your time. Hope you enjoyed the donut. Sorry about the strawberry cake.
Great donut, and it's okay.
Thanks to Lance for that. Commissioner Sean Tindell. We'll take a time out. We've got more Mornings with Richard Cross coming up with you. We will wrap up the 7 o'clock hour on the other side of this break. Thanks for being with us.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
From the White House to your hometown, this is where you find out what's happening. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
My transistor radio comes from far away, and when it's night over here, over there, it's breaking day. I remember all the good times I had walking in the sand with the beautiful girl that I met made in Japan. The beauty of her face was beyond.
Thanks for being with us. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. You can join the conversation on the C Spire text line, 601-879-4395. The governor of the state of California has issued an ultimatum to the president of the United States. He did so on official letterhead yesterday in a letter addressed to President Donald J. Trump, the White House, RE calling off mid-decade redistricting efforts. Dear Mr. President, the governor wrote, I am writing to ask you to call on the governor of Texas and other red states who are acting on your request to draw new congressional maps through an unprecedented mid-decade hyper-partisan gerrymander to rig the upcoming midterm elections to stop those efforts. You are playing with fire, risking the destabilization of our democracy while knowing that California can neutralize any gains you hope to make. This attempt to rig congressional maps to hold on to power before a single vote is cast in the 2026 election is an affront to American democracy. This is not what the founders envisioned, and California cannot stand idly by as this power grab unfolds. I do not do this lightly, as I believe legislative district maps should be drawn by independent, citizen-led efforts, as we have done in California for the last 2 decades. If you will not stand down, I will be forced to lead an effort to redraw the maps in California to offset the rigging of maps in red states. But if the other states call off their redistricting efforts, we will happily do the same, and American democracy will be better for it.
Big dog.
Are you able to write that with a straight face? Because
he's always smiling. So.
Because it doesn't say the redrawing of district maps is an affront to democracy across the board, period, end of sentence. It says the redrawing of maps, hyper-partisan gerrymander, as he referred to it, shouldn't happen. Unless it happens in blue states. I feel like that's the parenthetical there. because the hypocrisy that goes along with a letter like this doesn't really take into account what some of those blue states look like. I mentioned earlier the good for me, not for thee story. I understand the process by which we elect congressmen. I understand, right? You have districts, and those districts vote for their congressman. And what you want, or as he said, this is not what the founders envisioned. No, what the founders envisioned was representative democracy. Right? You are represented in Congress by someone from your area. And yet, in Massachusetts, 36% of the electorate voted Republican in the most recent presidential election. 0 seats representing Republicans in Massachusetts. In Connecticut, where you've got that crazy wahoo Chris Murphy as a senator, 42% of the state voted Republican. 0 Republican seats in Congress. In Maine, it's 46% with 0 Republican seats and only a semi-Republican in the Senate, if that's how you want to characterize Susan Collins. New Mexico, 46% Republican. You know how many Republican seats there are? 0. New Hampshire, 48% with no representation. Rhode Island, 42%. Vermont, 32%. Hawaii, 38%. Delaware, 42%. With no Republican representation in Congress. Now, is that a function of just how people are spread out in the state and where they happen to live? Or is it a function of the way the lines are drawn? In Illinois, where 44% of the state voted Republican, only 3 of the 17 seats are held by Republicans. That's 17%. Not exactly representative. And if you looked at the district lines in the state of Illinois, now Illinois is where J.B. Pritzker is harboring the Texas legislators who are scared to go to the state house and vote because they're going to lose. And Texas is going to be the district lines are going to be redrawn. But Illinois, you want to talk about a case of gerrymandering. In New York, where 43% of the state voted Republican, only 27% is represented by Republicans in Congress. And they tried to gerrymander their map so bad that the Democrat-led courts threw out the plan. We'll be back.
Your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Thanks for being with us. Glad to have you along for the ride. It's Mornings with Richard Cross rolling into the 8 o'clock hour on this Tuesday morning, the 12th of August. Thanks so much for joining us. Excited to visit with my next guest, who has been very, very busy for the last couple of months. I've actually been trying to get this scheduled for a while, and thankful to have Matt Laubhaun, who is a weatherman right here in the state of Mississippi. He has the trademark suspenders going on this morning if you're watching on SuperTalk TV. Matt, really appreciate some of your time.
Thank you so much for having me this morning.
So it's interesting to me how the media world has changed. There was a time when a television weatherman was kind of the pinnacle of the meteorological career. You have been in that spot. You've helped a lot of people in Northeast Mississippi in particular. But a career shift, some of it by choice, some of it maybe less so, and have launched an online platform that's available on the app and a lot of other places. Tell us about MS Live Weather.
Well, so I have considered for a long time what the future of media 10, 15, 20 years down the road was going to be. And one of the things that, kind of spurred this is is a consolidation that's right now going on in local media in particular. FCC expected to, change some rules on the amount of stations that an ownership group can have. And so everybody's been trying to pile on some cash for that for a while. Just this last week, my former station, it was announced, I think on Friday, is purchased by a company that owns television stations all throughout every other television market in the state. So I do think we're going to see consolidation in media. That has been something that has been concerning for a long time, especially in smaller places. And so that presented an opportunity to continue to focus on hyperlocal, which is, of course, where weather is.
Certainly is, and you are still delivering the weather on a daily basis in a really cool studio setup. This is not something that just happened with the snap of fingers and blink of an eye. Tell me about the process to launch this in a way that it could be not only successful but sustainable for you and the team that you're putting together.
Well, and this is where, like an award show, I got to give some credit to some folks. The CDF, the Community Development Foundation up here in Northeast Mississippi, has done a great job. They brought in Toyota. They've made sure for the better part of 100 years that there were employment opportunities in the northern part of the state. Earlier this year, there was an announcement of layoffs at my company, and they reached out to me basically the day after and said, "We've got to find a way to keep you." They put me in position to get financing and talk to the right people, so we were kind of able to set this up. But the model that I'm doing, you can see a 24-hour weather channel going on behind me there, which is the way we broadcast this, also a smartphone app. That was pioneered by a group up in Tennessee called Tennessee Valley Weather in Lawrenceburg, Tennessee, a town of 10,000 people, and they proved that this was viable. And to me, after talking with them, that proved this was viable any location on the planet. And it's kind of cool to see how things are spreading. So it took months and months and months of preparation during the hardest severe weather season. I'm in there running cable during my off time. But God has certainly provided an opportunity for this, and I think is going to provide us an opportunity to provide good local coverage, regardless of what the media landscape does from here.
I mean this in the most respectful way possible. You developed a bit of a cult following in terms of viewers, especially when severe weather settled in and was affecting North Mississippi, the northeastern part of the state. But the transition from over-the-air television to online, what has that been like in terms of the people who really rallied around you? I mean, really rallied around you and pushed back on the idea that you might be laid off. How have they been able to find you? And has that been a smooth migration process?
It's been infinitely more smooth than I ever could have imagined. We have a smartphone app where you can watch us 24/7, and I had no expectations on what the uptake on that app would have been. We've had last time I checked, it's been about 2 weeks ago, about 116,000 downloads. And that means 116,000 devices have the ability to receive my feed live and get an alert from me saying, "Hey, I'm live right now." And there's no searching on Facebook for this, or, to be honest, the device I'm on right now, a phone, if I can broadcast to you on my phone, we've gotten to a very compact and technological savvy society. When I take this to my safe room, I don't pull that box off the wall. So for years, people have been watching me in severe weather coverage on this, and now we have a more efficient way to do that.
Well, and when we've talked about safety, right? I mean, if tornadoes are coming in, if you're dealing with a hurricane on the coast, whatever it is, we've talked about, some of the preparation things you need to do. Make sure your smartphone is fully charged, right? So you may lose power, but you still got your phone, and you can go to that safe place and still keep up with what's going on if you're not a crazy guy like me that goes on the front porch when severe weather comes along. I know there are a few of us out there like that.
Well, and the funny thing is I talked to a researcher at the University of Oklahoma about that at one point, and I was like, how do you get men, middle-aged men, to shelter from severe weather? And the answer was get their wives to nag them. That was the research verified answer on that. But I think it really does boil down to, we're sizing up our opponent, right? Fight or flight. And so, go out the front porch, because think about what goes through your mind. It's not that bad. Well, it's because you're looking out there and you're assessing your opponent. But what happens 100% of the time, the person sees that tornado and they immediately retreat for cover. They sized up their opponent. They realize that it really is that bad. And so what happens is the men that are most likely to shelter, because again, this all comes back to men, are men whose wives have thanked them, or they've seen the damage firsthand, and then they respect it a lot more. And unfortunately, we've had a lot of those folks up here in North Mississippi, and I think that's where a lot of the following and understanding comes from, is just the bad weather we're capable of here in Mississippi.
But you know what? I think there's another layer to it as well. And again, this probably goes into the men's psyche, but if you watch Weather Channel and you see Mike Seidel or Jim Cantori or any of the other meteorologists who go on site to the worst weather conditions and they stand out in it so they can bring you the news, you're like, well, if they can do it, maybe I could too. And there's like this, I don't know, this longing for action almost.
I can see it. It's not every day adventure comes to your home's doorstep, and
That's
on
right.
that day it does. I hadn't really thought about it like that, but I think that could be something to it. Either way, it's as with most things in life, whether it's laundry or dishes, some nagging certainly helps move us along.
You're right. I will not push back on that at all. We're going to remind people before we wrap up where they can get the app and where they can follow you. But I do want to ask you about this. And first reached out after the severe flooding in Texas that we saw, that tragic loss of life. And this conversation about cloud seeding became more mainstream. Can we start at a really elementary level and you talk to us about what that means, what that looks like, who it is that's involved in doing some of this?
So I grew up in Kansas. Kansas is a lot drier than we are here in Mississippi, and especially western Kansas. And so growing up, they would attempt cloud seeding using silver iodide. And they would, basically take clouds coming out of Colorado and try to sprinkle this in them in the hopes that you get water droplets that coalesce around this condensate that, this thing they're putting in it, right? And so the whole idea is there's a lot of moisture in that cloud. How do you get it to fall in the form of precipitation? Well, almost every research study we've had on cloud seeding says it is best case scenario, maybe marginally effective, and largely doesn't work at all. Because if there's enough moisture in the cloud for it to coalesce and get the droplets to get big enough and fall out, typically that's already going to happen. Very rarely are we able to get a little bit more out of that. Certainly not in a non-mountainous setting. And so when we start looking at what happened in Texas, you're talking about a storm that just didn't move for hours and hours and hours. That actually comes back to climate change, not cloud seeding. Though there is a significant history of those kind of systems setting up in that part of Texas before, if you look back in history as well. It's a very flood-prone area when they get these stalled systems. So most of the flooding issues we have come from a slower jet stream. A slower jet stream comes from a warmer pole because you get less contrast between the north and the south, and that contrast is what causes those strong winds aloft. So I think there's some confusion there. I would say that if seeding is marginally effective at producing any precipitation, if you just threw a ton of it into a cloud that already had a ton of moisture, it's already going to fall out of there anyway, and you're just wasting your resource at that point. So I think it's something that is definitely not responsible in that situation and largely misunderstood to begin with, and frankly, pretty ineffective.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff. You got time to hang with us for just a couple of more minutes on the other side of the break?
Yeah, absolutely.
Visiting with Matt Laubhaun, Chief Meteorologist at Mississippi Weather. Are we saying MS Live Weather or Mississippi Live Weather?
So Mississippi Live Weather. I just, I wasn't sure if we spelled it all the way out, how many misspellings we'd get.
There you go.
I know folks in the state would be just fine, but people outside of it, they'd miss an S.
The app is MS Live Weather, Mississippi Live Weather with Matt Laubhaun. We're going to take a quick time out. We'll talk a little bit more about cloud seeding, genetic engineering. Is that the right way to describe it? And something that he brought up, that climate change conversation that can become so political so fast. We're back with you right after this. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Stormy weather.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
Morning, everybody. Time to wake up. Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Thanks for being with us. It is Tuesday morning, August the 12th, and you've got it locked in on Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. Matt Laubhaun is my guest, Chief Meteorologist with Mississippi Live Weather. Matt, we get an interesting question on the C Spire text line this morning, 601-879-4395. Now that James Spann and crew have released their statewide network in Alabama, similar to what Matt and his team are doing, could we expect to see more statewide coverage to cover more of Central and South Mississippi in the future?
I do think that is part of the plan. The thing I don't want to do is promise too much and deliver too little. So we're presently expanding the team. We have, including myself, 4 meteorologists on our team now. Hope to add a 5th here in the next couple of weeks. At that point, we can start kind of expanding towards Central and maybe South Mississippi. It's just a matter of making sure that we can provide the same quality coverage people, at least in the northern part of the state, have come to expect.
Yeah.
As long as we can do that, I do think that a statewide network is in the works eventually.
I am curious. Obviously, your focus is on North Mississippi. If in the unfortunate event of a hurricane that hits South Mississippi, would you focus coverage on that, even though that right now that's not your primary coverage area?
Absolutely. Yes. The main reason when I look at like the way we're kind of spacing our coverage around the state is I don't want to get in a situation where we have 2 significant tornadoes on the ground at the same time, which can happen in the state where you have one south of Jackson and then one heading toward, Houston or Tupelo. In that situation, you have 2 population centers that are now relying on you. You have to have multiple weather feeds, which our app is capable of. And I think at some point, which we will handle it accordingly to do something like that. But that's the thing I'm just being very conscious of here initially. But yeah, if we have a major hurricane this season, we'll be doing coverage on it for sure.
When you talk to young athletes, sometimes there is a player that they look up to, that they idolize, that they try to model their game after. And a lot of times you'll hear people say, well, you can't be exactly that, but I took parts of this or pieces of this. Does that exist within the weatherman community? Or are there meteorologists that you looked up to and that have kind of influenced the way you present the weather?
Absolutely. There's a guy by the name of Brian Busby who I interned under in Kansas City, Missouri. And a lot of what I do, he used to just joke that I copied everything for a while, because I did. Because you try to model yourself after that person, and then you find out what works and what doesn't work. And he's just very personable. He always made time for people that came up to him on the streets. And he was extremely, in my opinion, genuine on camera and genuinely entertaining. And so I tried modeling as much as I could after him. But, my life has taken a different direction. So over time, you pick up things from your surroundings. I yawl a lot more than he does.
People, I think, find that endearing, though. It is interesting, though, to watch your personality shift when severe weather, especially potentially life-altering severe weather, is bearing down on a particular community. You take it seriously.
Well, yeah, absolutely. It's most days at work. I mean, do you absolutely have to have me today when it's hot with a chance to pop up storms? Probably not. But there are a few jobs that on occasion mean the difference between life and death. And I believe strongly that good information and severe weather coverage paired with a place to, shelter from it is a life-changing event. So yeah, I think you have to take it seriously, and occasionally, like we talked about before the commercial break, you have to have a certain tone of your voice to get men to take it seriously as well.
That's true. It's funny to me to think, though, there is a certain celebrity that goes along with meteorologists. I mean, I grew up in North Mississippi, but for the longest time, Memphis was our primary coverage area, and so it was Dave Brown on Channel 5 in Memphis. I mentioned James Spann a second ago. He has this unbelievable celebrity across the entire state of Alabama, and in a lot of ways, you have developed that as well. What is it about this particular job? Is it a trust factor? Is it when things are bad, you're who I turn to, and therefore I put you on a pedestal? What is that?
I think it's a combination. When you think of kids watching TV, right? they don't know the difference between a TV star and a TV meteorologist. They both appear on TV, right? And so the one they see the most often is the one they're most familiar with. So they might see these giant TV stars in movies, but they don't watch that as often as they end up seeing the local weather person. And so when they see you in person, it's just a person from TV, and they don't delineate between the two. So I think that's part of it. I think we're the most personable part of the local news, which helps. And I do think that what happens in severe weather coverage imprints on a person. You have a time in their life where they're making a core memory of sorts, usually one attached to fear. And if you're that voice of safety in that moment, then that imprints on you as well. Again, not a psychologist. I sat in a 1,000-person classroom during my one psychology class, but that is my $2 psychology assessment.
Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi. Matt Laubhaun is my guest, chief meteorologist at Mississippi Live Weather. If you don't have the app, you can down it. You can join over 100,000 people that have already done that in just the last couple of months. MS Live Weather is where you find the app in the App Store or Google Play. I want to go back to the cloud seeding thing. I used a term before the break, and I don't even know if this is close to accurate. Is it genetic engineering, genetic modification as it pertains to clouds? Is that what we're talking about?
I mean, I would say it's an attempt at modification. I wouldn't say genetic, because that would be more biological.
Well, and I guess I meant that more as
at modifying our surroundings. Yeah,
I think I meant that more as a parallel than that's what's actually happening with the clouds. And I don't know if that's the right comparison or not.
Yeah, basically, you're adding something to the cloud to get the moisture to stick to, right? And so you want the water to stick to that, and if it gets heavy enough, it'll fall out. And so it does a good job of making the water droplets sort of stick to it. Is the idea behind cloud seeding?
Should this be banned?
I don't know if it should be banned, but I would say that it's probably a waste of money. You could argue. I don't know if it should be banned, but I don't think it's worth the money people put into it or the effort for that matter. I just don't think you get much out of it.
You used a phrase a second ago when you talked about climate change. You didn't specifically say global warming, but there's this ongoing forever battle of climate change is real, global warming is real, climate change, global warming is a hoax. Where does the truth lie?
So it is absolutely real, and as I always say, it is bad for the world but great for business, because weather becomes more volatile. Our planet for billions of years did a great job of regulating itself. We're kind of playing with that a little bit. And so but the question is what is climate change? By that I mean, what is directly related? Can we say that this is climate change or isn't climate change? And I think that's one of the things that's been dragged all over the place on this. We can boil it back to the most basic thing, which is that we have less and less polar sea ice, especially in the northern hemisphere. And during a hot sunny day, you tell athletes and you wear a white shirt outside in order to reflect back sunlight. A black shirt will absorb it. When you remove white sea ice from the ocean and replace it with blue water, the blue water absorbs much more effectively than the white does reflecting back. And so if you have more blue water, which we can say is absolutely true over and over again, year after year, looking at multi-decade ice up in the poles, you're now absorbing more heat. But like a pot of boiling water on the stove, you turn on that element, you put your hand on it, it burns almost immediately. You could have your finger in that water for 30 seconds to a minute before you even notice it's kind of warm. So water absorbs the heat more slowly, which kind of masks the effect to a certain extent. All that to say that with less ice around the pole, you have a less cold air around the pole, even just a little bit, and that then weakens the north to south temperature contrast, and that weakens the jet stream. Okay, so why does any of that matter? Because a slower jet stream means slower patterns. That means you get stuck in flooding rainfall longer, you get stuck in drought longer, you get stuck in heat longer or cold longer. So you can still have ridiculously cold, record-setting cold weather, and it be climate change related, because a slower jet stream means the pattern shifts more slowly. And so whereas it would have shifted out more quickly, you're stuck in it longer. So with climate change, you just get stuck longer.
Is the change in your mind directly related to population, to global changes, to greenhouse gas emissions, or is there a part of this that is just cyclical within like millennia as the world evolves?
I would say we can say for sure that it is human related, and the way we can, it's kind of like the whole Jurassic Park effect, right? In Jurassic Park, how did they make a dinosaur? They went back and they drilled in, they got the blood out of the mosquito that was in amber. So we do a similar thing in weather and climate science, which is we take core samples of ice from different eras, and the lighter color ice is, the more air bubbles it has in it, right? And so we can drill down these core samples, and we can get air out of those bubbles. That air tells us the concentration in the atmosphere, and we can compare that to now, and we know we have a lot more greenhouse gas now.
Matt, thanks so much for your time. Really enjoyed the conversation. Hope we can do this again soon.
Thank you.
Matt Laubhaun, Chief Meteorologist, Mississippi Live Weather. The app is MS Live Weather. This is Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi. From the sea.
Start your day right.
Good morning, America. How are you?
Honestly, I have no idea.
Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
I mean, if there's a guest from Tupelo, you're getting Elvis bump music. Mornings of Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi. Thanks for joining us. For some, it was an exciting morning in Tupelo as Fox and Friends, which is doing its 50 States in 50 Days tour, made a stop in Tupelo. Lucia Randle joins us now, Executive Director at Tupelo Main Street. Lucia, good morning.
Good morning.
So, an exciting morning on the streets of Tupelo with Fox broadcasting live for there. Give us the details, please.
Oh, we arrived bright and early, about 5:15 a.m. on Main Street in downtown Tupelo, and it was a buzz. And Steve Ducey came and joined us, and the broadcast started about 6:40, 6:45, and he did a walk down Main Street with the mayor. And this nice lady that nominated downtown Tupelo for Main Street USA segment for Fox, and her name was Thelma McCrory, and we're very grateful to Thelma for nominating us. It was a great morning. It really was. We had a lot of folks participate, and just exciting to be, on the national television. Our little town of Tupelo. We're very proud of it.
I'm glad that you could get the mayor out of bed and get him up early and get him to come out and share the good news about the city of Tupelo. I was actually having a conversation yesterday, Lucia, with somebody about. And Mayor Jordan and I have talked about this as well, the evolution of Tupelo over the last probably 20 or so years, and kind of goes back to the arena downtown, and then this commitment that has existed within the Tupelo business community to revitalize Main Street, downtown, the Fair Park area. It really is an incredible success story.
It truly is. I call it a tale of transformation. You are exactly right. When the city decided to invest in this downtown property and bought up, old properties, dilapidated properties, and the old fairgrounds, and they put that money into that, and they built a gorgeous city hall. And I'm telling you, it was the public investment that started the private investment. When the city invests in a downtown, that gives the private investor the confidence to do so themselves. And so this is the result. This vibrant downtown is the result of both public and private sector pulling in the same direction. We are reaping the benefits and super excited about our downtown and the direction it's going.
Tupelo is a city that's got a lot of stories to tell. What was the story that was the biggest focus this morning with the crew from Fox and Friends and specifically Steve Ducey?
Well, goodness, there were. We tried to touch on as many things as possible. We did. When we had the breakfast at Fair Park Grill, shout out to Bernard Bean for that. It was just wonderful. We had several people in the room, and Steve interviewed some folks, and David Rumbarger of Community Development Foundation highlighted Tupelo's huge manufacturing community we have here, how many jobs it provides. We talked about North Mississippi Medical Center being the largest rural hospital in the state. So many wonderful stuff. I think we tried to talk about everything. I can't speak specifically to what I was in another location when he and the mayor were making their way down the 100 block of Main Street, but I think we tried to hit every positive note we could.
I'm assuming at some point somebody pointed at Tupelo Hardware, right?
Oh, absolutely. They walked by Tupelo Hardware, and they talked about Elvis buying his first guitar there. Lots of stories. They went in the new Van Atkins that located in downtown Tupelo. They walked by there. They located a year ago here, and they are located in the old Kermit's Bakery building, and they renovated that building, and that's where Gladys bought Elvis's birthday cake. There's all kinds of little kind of side stories about Tupelo and the king of rock and roll, our favorite son. But Tupelo is that is a wonderful story about Elvis, but we are also so much more. So today we tried to, yes, embrace our roots with Elvis, but we are a very progressive city, and we wanted to outline those things as well.
20 years ago, I had asked you what Tupelo was going to look like today. My guess is that you might not have had the clear vision of exactly what it has become. What if I ask you today, 20 years from now, what Tupelo is going to look like? Where would you even start?
Oh, goodness. Well, we don't rest on our laurels, I'll tell you that. We are constantly looking for the next new thing, whether it is an economic driver, whether it is something that will increase the quality of life. Just in May, we opened the Depot, which serves as our farmers market every Saturday. That was a $2.1 million investment by the city of Tupelo.
Wow.
To increase to enhance the quality of life of our citizens and visitors alike. I think that we are going to continue to look for projects that do contribute to the quality of life of our citizens, and also, anything from the safety, safety is our priority, the safety of our citizens, the quality of life of our citizens, and the economic contribution that downtown can make to the city.
Outstanding. I know a lot of good things on the horizon. Lucia, I appreciate you joining us on short notice. I know Alex reached out last night when we found out about the Fox and Friends Main Street USA story. What a great honor for the city of Tupelo, and thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. You have a wonderful day.
You as well. We'll talk soon. Lucia Randle, Executive Director with Tupelo Main Street, part of the Main Street USA deal. And how about a Main Street USA segment on Fox and Friends to talk about Tupelo Main Street? Have you been to Tupelo in the last?
It's been a while, but we had a remote with Garden Mama up there in the Depot, which is the farmers market. Boy, you talking about
isn't it nice?
Man, that place looked great. It was bustling. It was like a little anthill out there, and you saw the mayor creeping around in and out of the camera. I was like, I know that guy. And we had him on, and it's a great investment in the community. Tupelo is just such a beautiful place. Got such great farming around it anyways.
Yeah.
So, no, I'm extremely impressed. But, no, I haven't been over there in a few years, and I've heard only great things. So I know the mayor's doing a good job.
Yeah, we were there, I guess it was back in the spring, for a cross-country event that my daughter was, or a track event that my daughter was running in at Tupelo High School. And there was a lot of downtime during the day. Like, she ran early, and then she ran late. And there was like this, 6 or 7 hour window in between the races. And so we've got friends that live in Tupelo, and we met, downtown for lunch. And, there's some new hotels and really, really cool restaurants. Just a lot of great stuff happening downtown in Tupelo.
Man, I hadn't broken the Mississippi Mason-Dixon line in years. Highway 82. Yeah, man, it's been a while. About 5 years, I think. So
you hadn't been north for a ball game or anything?
I work, man. I work 6 days a week, so I don't really. It's hard to get up there for a Sunday and get back and be ready to roll on a Monday. The old deer camp's usually kind of just close enough.
And you couldn't send me all those messages about wars in the Middle East or in Europe and the history of that if you were hanging out in North Mississippi.
But I have been to Hattiesburg, been to Meridian, and seen quite a bit of the smaller and mid-sized towns in Mississippi around here, Vicksburg, and the revitalization and rebirth of these communities. It gives me the tingles and feely-goods when I go see it. There's so much invested in there, and these are core areas. Like with Meridian, just the arts has been such a huge piece of that. We have an amazing manager over there in Shelley, and they do do so many great things with the Riley Center and all that. It's just really cool to see Mississippi figuring it out, finding its own.
The Max is Meridian, right?
Max is Meridian.
Okay, yeah.
And then they got the Riley Center too over here, which is the MSU project and Weidman's and great stuff. But again, you see Mississippi kind of getting it now. And worked in the arts for a while, many years ago, but packaging your tourism. So people have more than one thing to do.
Is there an industry in which you haven't worked for a little while?
I don't know. I've never been I've always wanted to be a underwater welder, and make the big money.
I hear that pays big time.
I want to make the big money, but I haven't done that.
You started taking classes?
I'd like to. I'm going to talk to Build Mississippi, So.
There you go. Donald in Oxford. Hey, Cross, can you stay on the airwaves for another hour to keep me entertained for move-in day? Or when you get done, can you come by Crosby and help all us dads going insane? Unfortunately, no, and absolutely not.
Yeah, you got to have help for that.
Donald, here's the thing. I am in the place in my life where I am living in the in-between. My dear wife, Jane, we were together through most of college, and so I got to help with about half a dozen move-ins and move-outs along the way. We've had our own move-in and move-outs in our married life, and I will have to do that with my own daughters and son in the not too terribly distant future. So, no, I'm going to sit this one out. But
that's a smart move, buddy.
I wish you all the best. Turned out on Jackson Avenue yesterday. And I couldn't figure out why the traffic was backed up the hill in front of Stockard and Martin, like all the way toward the old Walmart. And I was like, oh, it's move-in day. Ugh. We're back right now.
From the Venable Glass Traffic 97.3.
Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
All right, report from CNBC. The Consumer Price Index increased to seasonally adjusted 0.2% for the month and 2.7% on a 12-month basis. This is according to BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Now, I don't know if that means that these numbers will be adjusted 60 days from now, where they then reflect negatively. And it's hard to put too much emphasis on numbers from BLS when just a few days ago we were pretty critical of the fact that BLS does not do a good job. But we do have the Consumer Price Index, excluding food and energy. Core CPI increased 0.3% for the month and 3.1% from a year ago. And that is slightly better than was forecasted. Which, Lance, if I'm remembering correctly, that means we are now May, June, July, 3 consecutive months in which CPI numbers have outperformed the predicted numbers.
Again, I believe in data when you're looking at, or data, however you want to say it. But I do believe that Powell has politicized the role that he's playing a little bit, honestly. For whatever reason, I'm not sure. Maybe it's to cover the $2 billion worth of just upgrades to the Federal Reserve facilities that, as Trump said, should have taken $50 million. Gross mismanagement of that project, he said. So, I just don't believe that he is on top of this, quite frankly. I've spent a long time in the markets, and generally the Fed is extremely nimble, and it seems that they've been somewhat asleep for a quarter or more. When numbers come in and suggest the things they have, I believe it's time to act. And that is their one mandate, is to act when it's time to act. And so I'm one of those. I believe it's been time. And knowing the real estate market like I do, a quarter point a month or so ago would have probably done a great job for stimulating buying through the summer. And we've wasted a month or so, honestly, of opportunities to get people in homes.
Yeah. And there is no getting that month back. There is no getting that cost savings back.
On the income that people earn that are in that profession, property management, all kinds of things. So, all of these things are, these are revenue issues that we've missed the boat on.
Former White House economist Jared Bernstein, who served under President Joe Biden, said this: the tariffs are in the numbers, but they're certainly not jumping out hair on fire at this point. When you have an economist that served under Joe Biden's White House, even if he's not speaking glowingly about tariffs, but he's not just killing the president for the tariffs that are in place, that kind of says a lot. CNBC writes, the report comes at both a critical time for the economy and the BLS itself, which has come under Trump's criticism for what he has charged as political bias against him. So this new round of numbers coming out is pretty good. Chief economic strategist at Morgan Stanley Wealth Management, Ellen Zentner, said inflation is on the rise, but it didn't increase as much as some people feared. In the short term, markets will likely embrace these numbers because they should allow the Fed to focus on labor market weakness and keep a September rate cut on the table. Longer term, we likely haven't seen the end of rising prices as tariffs continue to work their way through the economy.
The big one is China.
What was the excuse before tariffs, though?
Hey, there you go, buddy. I mean, it's...
But like when prices were going up before Trump rolled the tariffs in...
Well, they blamed it on Trump and spending and COVID. I mean, let's reverse back. Yeah, of course, it was the trillions of dollars that he had to pour in, the biggest expenses in the history of mankind. That's what caused it all. Not people sitting at the house for 2 years.
Wait. Hold on. Wasn't it the act that Biden got signed into law?
That's the talking point. I can go back and show you one after another.
I agree. And we spent a butt. Look, I mean, if you want to try to classify Donald Trump as a thrifty spender, you're going to have to sell that vision somewhere else. But there's no question they spent $1 gazillion during COVID. What was the name of the Biden Economic Recovery Act?
Wasn't that it? What was it? I'll get that real quick.
I don't know why I can't remember that. I should. Deficit Reduction Act or something. Anyway, I can't remember the name of it. But it was kind of...
Rescue Plan Act of 2021. America Rescue Plan Act, if I believe it. Yeah, the America Rescue Plan Act of 20. That's why you don't remember it, because... it kind of got swept in there pretty quick.
Well, it's a bad name. It spent a lot of money,
bill.
and it didn't really rescue anything.
$2 trillion there.
$2 trillion.
Just writing them checks, baby.
Great show this morning. Thanks for being with us. Appreciate Commissioner Sean Tindell coming by. Great conversation with Matt Laubhaun. Could have gone on for a lot longer. Wanted to be respectful of his time, and appreciate Lucia Randle from Tupelo Main Street stopping by as well. Mornings with Richard Cross. We will do it again tomorrow at the CARES Act. That's what it was. That was what I was trying to remember, is the CARES Act. Governor Tate Reeves will join us tomorrow morning at 7:20. We will be in studio together. Looking forward to that conversation. For Lance, I'm Richard. Have a great Tuesday.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.